Welcome to Simple Real Estate Investing, where we offer simple tips and strategies to get you started on your wealth building journey through real estate. My name is Austin, and my wife and I are on a journey to help 1,000 home renters become homeowners over the next 25 years. So those are the added benefits of real estate investing, but you have to take into account what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you time. Listen, if you don't have the time to commit to learning, networking, and implementing what you've learned, this may not be the right investment for you. Now, I get it, you're busy, I'm busy, everyone's busy, but we have to be creative with how we learn to integrate this into our lifestyle. Let me give you an example of what a day in my life looks like. I get up at 4:10 a.m., I go to CrossFit at 5 a.m. and I coach. At 6:15 a.m. I get home. From 6:15 to 7 a.m. I'm working on the business. I'm networking because the East Coast hours are different from where I am, and that's where most of my properties are, in that time zone. Then at 7 a.m. all three of my boys are usually up by then, and then I have to get them ready. I've got to get them fed, I've got to get them changed, I got to get them to brush their teeth, do their hair, get their backpack ready, get their homework ready, and then we've got to be ready to get out the door by about 7:50. Now they get to school from 7:50 to 8 a.m. and then I take my youngest one to daycare and I start my work day, my W-2, just like you have a W-2, I start anywhere from 8:15 to 8:30. That day usually runs from 8:15 to 8:30 to about 4:30 or 5. Just depending on what the schedule looks like. At that time, I get home, but the work doesn't end there because my kids are hyperactive and they have extracurricular activities. We take our kids out to their sports, we divide and conquer if we need to. My wife is usually at the gym at 5 o'clock, but somehow we all make it back right around 6 o'clock. At that point, between my wife and I, we have to figure out what's for dinner. We eat dinner together, and then we have family time, and that usually goes to about 7:30 or so when we start getting our kids ready for bed. Now, when we get to that point, our kids go to bed at about 8:30. That's when our youngest does. And so we make sure that all three go to bed, and then I get to spend time with my wife, and this is really important. We don't do wine. We usually do like ice cream or dessert when we spend time together, and we'll usually watch a TV show. She loves watching Grey's Anatomy. I love watching The Voice. And so this is our time together that we usually spend every night until about 10:30 or so. At that point, my wife usually goes to bed and she knows that I'm going to stay up and work on the business. I'm going to work on new strategies. I'm going to review our KPIs. I'm going to look at our asset management plan and make sure that everything's going according to plan. And this is what it costs right now in this season in order to get us to where we want to be in the future. So it'll cost you time. It's also going to cost you effort or action. Like you actually have to do something with the things that you learn about real estate. Now, it'll require you experimenting, even when you're afraid. It'll require you implementing, even if you don't know where to start. But all the knowledge in the world is not going to make you an investor. Just because you watch all the podcasts and read all the books, it doesn't mean that you are a real estate investor. What separates and differentiates those who talk about it versus those who actually do it is the implementation of the knowledge that you receive. So if you were to take one action, I'm not telling you to do everything today, but let's say one new action per week. Over the course of 52 weeks, that's 52 new actions you would be implementing a year, which would change you as a person entirely. So it'll require time, it'll require effort and action, and here's my favorite thing to talk about. It will require grit. You have to have grit if you want to be a real estate investor. TED Talk speaker and author Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit, and in it she defines grit as perseverance and passion for long-term goals, but I would completely add to that and short-term goals. I would define grit by measuring the following things: courage, motivation, resilience. See, you need courage in the face of adversity. You need to be a courageous investor who doesn't back down but keeps moving forward. When tenants call you with a roof that's leaking at 2 a.m. in the morning, a courageous investor will have the boldness to make the phone calls that need to be made, to even visit the site if the site needs to be visited. But a courageous investor will not back down from a challenge. He won't be discouraged. He won't be swayed. They'll make the phone calls, they'll give the apologies, they'll foot the bill if they need to. There is nothing a courageous investor wouldn't do. I also define grit by motivation, being internally versus externally motivated. A lot of people are motivated by external factors like a paycheck. But if you want to be a real estate investor and be successful at it, you've got to find some internal motivation that isn't motivated by anything externally like a paycheck or notoriety or fame or a title or prestige. You have to be internally motivated to keep you driving when things get hard. The last way that I would define grit is by using the word resilience. Resilience speaks to the way that someone's able to flow through changes in life, or changes in the market, or changes in the industry. When one door closes, a resilient real estate investor finds another door to open. When one door closes, a real estate investor will knock on 99 more to figure out the best route to go. And so before we even get to the nuts and bolts, you need to understand these things. That real estate investing, while it can give you the benefit of market appreciation, cash flow, tax depreciation, and principal paydown, it's going to require you to have the time, it's going to require you to have grit, and it's going to require you to implement these pieces of knowledge and wisdom that you learn.